Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Reset TV Talk. I'm your host, Audrey, and I'm sitting down with
Dawit Arshak.
the General Manager of Asylum Seekers Support Trust. I'm super excited for this episode. We already found out that I know a lot of your kids, which is amazing. But today we're going to really break down a lot of different tough topics, but also just kind of set up a platform to understand the different kinds of people that live in New Zealand, that work in New Zealand, and find themselves operating and trying to serve other people who are coming over from other countries. But before we get into all of that, tell us a little bit about Ethiopia. What is the land like? What are the people like? What is the culture like? And what was it like growing up there?
Well, Ethiopia is one of the oldest countries, which we can claim over 5,000 years histories, recorded histories we have. And currently Ethiopia is 120 million people around to live in Ethiopia, and we have got 83 ethnicities in the countries, and we have got many languages spoken in the countries. Yes, Ethiopia. Ethiopia is the only country also and hold our own, just and alphabets and numbers we have in among African countries, and maybe in the future Africa can use it, that one, as an African, if we run to one Africa. Yeah, and also Ethiopia is one of the countries never been colonized, and so maybe because of that reason, just our culture still kept alive until this day. Yeah, so Ethiopia is, we call Ethiopia as a motherland, and she's a beautiful mother, Ethiopia, we love, and then yeah, it's great for me to be born in Ethiopia and to raise in Ethiopia, and I'm proud of my culture. Yeah, so I'm the last child in the families. And
Of how many?
we are 5, and I'm the 5th one, 2 brothers and 2 sisters I have. Yep, and I'm privileged to raise with the parents, and then my mom is a very traditional mom, and my father is very open person, just and as out of the concept of, and some of our cultures doesn't exist in his life. He's very open and a straightforward person, and he speaks his minds. He don't have any extra respect for anyone. He respects everyone equally. There's no difference for him, a king or a person who lives on the street. So that's what I picked up from him. Yep, and so it's. I love to be an Ethiopian.
Yeah.
I'm proud Ethiopian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I've really learned, especially coming under Faisal sometimes when I go with him to his different community appointments, is this idea of a social fabric, and that every country has it. And what I find so interesting is that there is still this meeting place around coffee. There is still this communing and fellowship. The only difference is they don't make it this time the way you would make it back home, but it's at the coffee club, it's at Starbucks. And there's still this, honestly, I went with him once, and random people that they've never met just walking by. Salam, how are you? My name is this, my name is that. Oh, sit down, let's have coffee together. That's one thing I noticed. Second thing I noticed was that anyone who came, and often comes, offers everybody something to drink. And if they genuinely end up paying for 13 people, they will buy 13 people, So what are some things that you recognize that you had growing up that you've implemented? And it may look different comparatively, but the heart and the drive and the motive behind it is still the same.
Well, we listen a statement, and the child raised by the village. It's a common thing been spoken in Africa, not only in Ethiopia, but there is a truth behind. And I'm not the child of my mom and dad also, and I am a child of people who are around me. So we live a very collective life. Our neighbors has got an authority over my life. If I do something silly on the streets, they have a right to correct me. That's how I raised. And And the beauty of this, that collectiveness, helping us for us to think today collectively, because I don't believe that humans are created as an individual being to grow like a tree and just to end life. No, no, no. I believe that I have a reason to be in this planet Earth and to live among others, to contribute what I have, to gain what I can access from others. So, as an Ethiopian, you mentioned about coffee. Yes, it's true. And that is part of our, just a culture. Well, in reality, and the coffee has come from Ethiopia, the place called Kaffa. Okay, yeah, so, and
Cafe.
yeah, just they created, and then it's taken by those business-minded people somewhere else. Now, around the world, they are benefited a lot from the coffee. But still, Ethiopia is one of the best coffee producer countries. And the coffee has got a process, and the coffee beans, we never buy coffee this on the shelf, which is rotten coffees. It's not a coffee for me. Coffee should be fresh. So the green coffee washed and then roasted in front of you, and then it's grinded, not with the electrical machine, with just a digging machine, just a manual to crush the coffee, to grind. And the coffee powder is with a water, they put in a clay pot. And then it takes maybe 20 minutes to get the first coffee from that pot on the fire.
Wow.
Slowly, and then the coffee settled with a small cup you will get. And then we have got three times, you drink. The first one is abol, and the second one is tuna, and the third one is baraka. So those 3 times. It takes maybe 2 hours, the coffee process. That's the time, the people, they discuss every issue.
Yeah, of course.
Social issues, just the family issues. There is no politically corrected, mindset within our communities. If you speak about your issues within the families, you will get a straight answer from someone else or advice. It's up to you to take it or not. We don't, just think even for a second, you say, how does she think if I said this and that? No, we speak our mind. If we are right or wrong, we'll put it there. So, and I like it, that helping us, just even the colonizers, when they plan to invade Ethiopia, and our kings and his king and palace, around the coffee, they discuss about the war. And that helping us. If there is a marriage proposal, we talk around the coffee.
Yeah.
Yes, it's any time.
It's a centerpiece.
Yes, and the same time, mine is yours mentality. That's why you have seen here in New Zealand, and the people are on the counter, they are fighting, I'm paying, they are dragging each other, Still we kept that one, and then we are so happy.
Yeah.
Because we are not self-centered, individualistic.
Yeah.
We are collective, and I love that one, yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think it was something I always wrestled with growing up, because I was shown different. And so the way my home operated and the way I was seeing other families and homes operate at school was so oxymoronic that I didn't have the maturity or the awareness to know that the way my mom was doing things was innate to her. She was trying her best to make a bridge between very, very, very different in their own ways countries, And I think now that I'm 20 and I have a little bit more appreciation and love for where I'm from, and I get to work in this job where I'm always coming in contact with people who are so synonymous with my mom, I realize it's like, oh my gosh, it is all about coming back to the table. This idea of, I remember I went to my friend's house and they all ate dinner in their rooms. And I was so confused. I went to the dinner table and they all went to their rooms. I was like, where's everyone going? I'd never, ever, 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 ever seen that. And it was never allowed, never, ever, ever allowed. And so I think it's so interesting that these parts that we often kind of, growing up, you're like, oh my gosh, coffee again. If someone's coming over again, or like, you're so right. All my mom's aunties, friends, they would always tell me off in public, and I'd be like, you're not my mom. Who do you think you are to tell me off? And then the more and more I realized was that the relationship they had with my mom was to a point where she trusted them enough to know if they're going to discipline Audrey, she probably did something wrong.
Exactly.
It's not in this place of like,
Exactly.
I have authority, let me go ahead and use it.
Mm.
But even in that same regard, a lot of your story and a lot of your life is not what we would consider normality. So tell us and walk us through 13-year-old Dawit and what that was like, and how you developed such a huge personality and passion and assertiveness. You're very zealous. And how did that kind of come about as well for you?
Well, because of the openness within my house, maybe also just because of the way how I'm created, and I can see, I can absorb,
Yeah.
and then I can reflect. So when I was very young, I was well aware of about the situation within my countries. The last king of Ethiopia, King Haile Selassie, just he was on power, and the country still was called one of the poorest countries in the world. And so the king was living a very legacy life. Over 56 years ruled the countries, and he was not willing to leave a space for the next person. And there was a lot of crisis, especially the 1973 drought. Still, I remember the song. I can sing it clearly. One of our well-known artists, sang about that drought, issues. It's hurting, just when we listen that songs, and all of us will cry because our peoples in the northern part of Ethiopia, the place called in Wallo, it's the place, especially in Kombolcha, and people's dying, and there was a drought. And the response from King Haile Selassie regime was not an appropriate, and so there was an anger within the communities. The militaries, the students, the taxi drivers, the teachers association, all they rise up, and then just in 1974, King Haile Selassie, he lost the power. I clearly understand everything, just till now, just now I'm 59. So, and yes, and I was taking side with that revolution. It was pure revolution. Many people, they said this comes from outside. Well, I don't believe on that, And within the countries there was an issues, and then the peoples, they tried to respond by removing this monarchy. So the last king of Ethiopia, I think he's the 235th king of Ethiopia, and that ended, in 1974. And I don't agree for what happens to him and to the ministers, and they are murdered by the military regime, which is totally unacceptable, But they deserve to to make a space for the change. But the problem is the change, the military regime has come, and it's worse than the previous one. And there is no human right, and there was a lot of political parties rising everywhere like a mushroom in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was 12, I was recruited, just to join a political party called EPRP, Ethiopian People Revolution Party. So, and I was recruited, and we go around just by the riverside or our soccer field area. We discussed about the issue, and we discussed about the manifesto and about these parties.
At 12 years
Yes,
old.
at 12. And then so even the task is given unto us, just in my age groups, what we do, just distribute pamphlets, and then, and also just a slogan here in New Zealand, they call it graffiti, just writing on the wall, somebody's wall, or our slogans. And also, if there is a demonstration in some areas, just the street light should be broken by slingshot, because the military snipers couldn't see anyone, just we can march. And also, we have to recruit more kids and also to generate income. I remember I was selling cigarettes for my political party. When no one purchased my cigarettes, I sit in the corner. That's how I started smoking cigarettes.
Wow.
And then to pay back to my party. Yeah, so willingly, and I accept that, just willingly I participate. When I was 13, the biggest impact, within the countries, the military regime was brutally responding to this party, especially EPRP, and I witnessed a lot. My own friend, still I remember him, still I miss him, still it hurts me to think about. He was 14 and arrested and tortured and murdered, and his body was thrown by the riverside. In our suburbs, that was the first time 36 and young people's been taken out, just action is taken, And so, and one of the person who been murdered, just and buried, half of his body was been eaten by a hyena. Because Addis Ababa, we have got many rivers. At night time, the hyenas coming through the riverside. So his body was eaten. So imagine in a child mindset, when you see, when you
Exposed to
witness,
traumatic
when you
things,
expose with all this, it creates a lot of negative, just energies within yourself. Anger, frustration, and so. So, and when I was arrested, I was 13. So I can see how the Kiwis are privileged here, a 13 years child.
Completely different lifestyle.
Yeah, even slap is not allowed,
Yeah,
for the naughty 13,
But that didn't stop it. Our parents did it.
Yeah. So, so since 13, I can say that, just to some extent, they stopped me forcefully, to some extent. So most of us, we pretend to live, as ostrich, when you see things around and hiding your head in the sand. And so we see a lot of things unfair and unnecessary. It happens, a lot of things happen to my families and friends and my neighbors, my areas. So, and the only way, and to hide yourself, just because we are littles, we can't go. But the older one is, yes, some of them, they just, they run to another region for armed struggle. Some, they left the countries. So, and my mom, she wanted me to continue my study for the sake of respecting my mom, and I went to school. But I was not focusing, just in the school also. And I remember 1984, and we've been called out by the local government body called Kabale, and they lectured us, just for all the young people who graduate high school. And at the end, they said our armies need somebody from the young educated. And so directly they are asking us to join the army. So most of us, we opposed, and but there was no chance. Yeah. So, and actually, and they've been playing a mind game. I remember in a small room, a man was sitting like my position. The moment you walk in the door, you will see his .45 gun Colt on his side. The moment you walk in, the first things you pick, you watch is the Colt. And then in front of him, he's asking you, do you accept the calling of your motherland? And I said, sir, I don't want to be in the army. He said, I'm not asking you what you want or not. Do you accept the calling of your motherland or not? I'm not sure if I can go out of that room if I say no.
No.
So I say, yes, sir, and put your signature. I signed that document. Maybe that's the proof for them, just I willingly agreed, so it's not. So I went home. And my mom, and just the last person she want to keep aside, just as me, because I'm the last born. Two of my brothers already, they left through Djibouti. The older one, he ended up in Oakland, California. And next to him is in Amsterdam. So I was the last born, just, and mom, she loves me too much, If we put me and my dad next to, maybe she may struggle to pick home. Yes. She have never said no to me. Mom never said no to me. No.
Wow.
But the only time she said no to me when I asked her to leave the countries. So she kept telling me, I'll pray, just wait. But that day, after I signed that document, and I went home, I was so down, just mom comes from work, and always when she comes from work, around 5:30, we have small meal together before she go to church. She is a strong believer, After work, she come home, she have a coffee, a little bit break, and she go to church. She will come by 7:30 from church. All what she does under the tree, she is sitting, reading her books and praying. Wow. So I told her, Mom, I signed the document. She said, sure? I said, yes. Now we can go, she said, because her power is ended there. Her limit is ended there. She can't stop anything.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking my mom, I need money. Smugglers needs money. I never worked, I'm a homeboy, just I have nothing. So mom, she accepted and she gave me money. So I followed the footsteps of my brothers to go to Djibouti from Addis. I produced, my own fake documents, fake ID, fake pass permission. In that time, in that military communist regime, if you want to go from Addis Ababa, out of Addis Ababa, the capital city where I born, and by the city skirt, there is a military barricade. All the cars stopped. And then the car and the people search it, and you have to produce an ID and a pass permission. Imagine from Auckland to go to Hamilton, and Bombay Hill, you're stopped. You have to produce, from the local government called Kabale, as a pass permission. You are going to visit your auntie and this and that. I'm not entitled, I'm not a person who can access that one from my Kabale plus to that in that time. So, and then I've been practicing how to make a rubber stamp, So when there's no way, humans can make a way,
Yeah.
So I produce my own pass permissions. So from Addis, I went through Nazareth, I went to Dredawa, and then I got 2 Ethiopian Somalis, just to take me to Djibouti. I have to negotiate the price and so. Yeah, I've done a big mistake, I take someone with me whom I really don't know him personally, but his mother is asking me to take him with me. She trusts me, and so that cost me for me to be arrested, because when he was arrested, and I couldn't leave him behind. So for 6 weeks, I've been detained in a police station at the city called Alisabe in Djibouti. And the Djibouti government decided for a deportation of 4 refugees. But the 5th one, he was a doctor, because they have a shortage of doctors, Djibouti, and they picked him. We've been deported. We face a very harsh treatment. We've been beaten. We've been forced to do jobs in the military camps, to clean the compound, carry a sack of, sons from far distance to bring and prepare their sport field. Yeah, so, and later I was lucky, I can say, I met the commander of that military camp, the area called Galile. So through the conversation, I convinced him to release us, with a promise not to return back to Djibouti. So when the train comes, he told us to be in the train, and we choose to be on the roof. And so because we don't have any document, we don't have any money in our pockets, we are heading back to our predators. And the chance to escape from that place and very slight. Because the Wale is the majority peoples are militaries, and the others are a family of a militaries, It's very hard to escape. So before the train is approaching the Dawale town, just smugglers are jumping off the train with their smuggled material. Then we followed them. We jump. I've seen a movie, that fake movie. But we jumped, all of us. We ran to the village. 3 of them were not lucky to be arrested, and I was the only one who escaped out of 4 of us. One older lady, she hid me and she fed me until the train checked it. It takes over 2 hours. Then she put me back in a train to retrieve. And later I found 2 of them lost their life, and the one I met him after a long time in Sudan. So that's how I retrieve back to ground zero, and then I have to organize my mom. She have to pay again for smugglers for me. But this time, my 2 cousins and other friends and one of my uncles, they planned to go to Sudan. And they called me while I was hiding in my grandma's place in Nazareth. They said, "Bro, we are heading to Sudan. You want to join us?" I said, "Let me ask Mom." So I called Mom and I said, they are going, Jeremiah and Clay, and so can I? Mom, this time she was so happy. "Of course, with your brothers. Go and survive or die with your brothers," sort of, Then we 2 by 2 from Addis to Bahardar, we went with our fake documents again. Then from Bahardar to Sudan, we walked 11 days without enough food, without enough water, without enough sleep. The smugglers are the one who are telling us, go, sit, take a break. So we face a lot of challenge.
Yeah.
We manage, and then I was privileged to go to Sudan. I love Sudan.
Wow.
That's between 13 to 20. Huh?
That's crazy.
You see, Ethiopians, we are runners,
Yeah.
So imagine
That's what we
13 to
did.
20. I didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why, because I'm 20 now, and I don't know. I think it's insane the more and more I talk with people and look at just the way they grew up comparatively with me, even though we're from the same place, like the level of risk taking, faith, but that it takes to move a country. But also one thing that I've also noticed is the level of rock bottom. When you really hit rock bottom, and the home that the country that the community and the football field and the school, all these things that you grew up with and had the privilege of living so beautifully in, when all of that gets stripped away and you literally feel like you have nothing to lose, there's a different kind of adrenaline and survival that people tap into to be able to do something like that. And I think it's incredible. And I think it's something that we don't talk about enough in relationship to success stories, in terms of people who come to New Zealand and the life that they've set up for themselves is a good one, and it's a beautiful one, and they have children. They have children who are doing all kinds of things because they don't have to worry about military and kings and overthrowing. They can do things like football and music and travel, and I think it's been beyond words my honor and my privilege to reap from the sacrifice. And
But there is the other side.
parents.
Just when you talk about the success, it's a painful success.
Sacrificial.
It's a painful still, just because there is a guilt of survival, because many of your friends never reach where you are,
Right.
And the other things, just the painful part is, you can't retrieve what you lost.
Of course.
Your motherland, your peoples, your language, and you go on the street, you listen your own music. You don't have to worry where to eat your food because every corner is selling your food. And nobody will ask you where you are, where you're from. They will ask you what's your name.
Yeah.
So it's a painful, success. Still, when I look to my kids, and I'm so glad, just to read them here. But still, it's painful. My kids, the struggle will continue. It will never stop. My kids are still being asked, who they are. They have to prove. Even the kids who are born in this land, still they will be asked. So, and there is the other side of, just a coin.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a break. We're going to head into part 2, and we will see you guys there. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to delve into the second part of your life, which is your time and the world in which you've created for yourself now here in New Zealand. So you work as a general manager at Asylum Seeker Support Trust. Just in a few sentences, kind of break down, if you would describe your job in 3 words, what would it be?
Well, managing just is including just the staff and budgeting, and also relationship with external bodies.
Yeah. And where do you think for you that passion and the desire to apply for that job was one based off what it's like? So you can reach these people, you can plow with them, you can put in the time that it's going to take to teach them and get them to a point of independence? Or have you always had a passion for community and education and organizing?
And happened to be, just to be in that space. The day I arrived in New Zealand as a Kota refugee in Mangere, and I was supporting anyone who needs like language support or anything. And when I left even Mangere, I was supporting, just an RMS. They called me when any Ethiopian refugee comes, need a support in terms of language and so.
Okay,
Yeah, and later just and just the manager, she felt that guilty just to use my time without paying, and so they offered me just a casual contract.
Yeah.
So the first contract I signed in 2004.
Okay.
So I was driving a taxi, and at the same time, whenever they called me, I go and respond. And then later, just in 2011, and refugee service. RMS is Refugee Immigrant Service. They rebranded and then called themselves Refugee Service Aotearoa. So, and they gave me a full-time offer in 2011. Yeah, so as a community support worker, we are called as case worker. Then the following year, I started to study in biculturalism, social work, and in Tiawananga. Because, just I want to back up, just my practices with a document and a knowledge, yeah. So, in 2012, we amalgamated with New Zealand Red Cross. So it's evolution works in my life, So
Yeah.
I was evolving. Yeah, so in different roles, I was serving in just within Red Cross. So it's all about my services around the refugee. And it makes sense for me because I'm a refugee, and any refugee comes from any country is part of me, is part of my families. We are in the same boat. If I don't understand in details about the person's journey or the challenge, and so in details, if I don't, but I can understand in general because I lost the countries, I lost my culture, I was forced to be somewhere else. It's not my choice to be here. So I can share that space.
Of course.
And so, and then it will help me. I don't really mind, if one of my clients is angry, agitated, and so patiently I can take him just gently and until he comes down, until he achieves what he wants, I can walk with him because I've been there, the same position.
Course, yeah.
So for me to work in this industry is like paying back.
Okay.
Yep. And plus to that, I don't want them to miss, It's simple as far as I can, just I love to fill the gap. So while I was working New Zealand Red Cross, and then I have seen this position being advertised. And Asylum Seeker Support Trust, as a volunteer, on volunteer basis, I was affiliated with, just when the Christmas season comes, my church groups and we set up a Christmas dinner for asylum seekers. And Freya, she's a mother of asylum seekers, and then and when anything she contact me, anything I contact her, if there is any need, I tried my best, so I know also the gaps in that area. So when I got this opportunities and I applied, and so they gave me this position, and I'm happy to be there, and then I'll do my best, Yeah.
I think one thing I've recognized comparatively with me and my family's experience when we came through Mangere and those coming through now is just this kind of missing piece. I think you can teach someone how to shop. You can teach someone how to catch the bus. You cannot teach someone to feel safe. You can't teach someone to belong. You can give them everything they need for normalcy. And I think it's great that we have things in place that allow people to at least have a stepping stone and a good shot. But the things and the matters of the heart and of the mind, I think, are so difficult to navigate. And one thing I learned through my mom and my dad's experience was that this idea of fear has to be processed. We can't keep negating the idea that people who are migrating, people who are being forced to migrate, are not encountering genuinely traumatic things. And that when you come to a place that may not have that, all of those things are suddenly just non-existent. No, that person has to... I remember the first time we moved out of Mangere, we finally had a house in Beach Haven, and it was Guy Fawkes night, and my mom freaked out and had all of us just like shaking in the living room calling the police. Because for one person, it's Guy Fawkes, for another person, it's gunshots. And I had never lived her experience, but the watching of the fear now became mine, right? Because now every time I heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, kind of thing. Or another example was my mom never went on bushwalks, never. She hated them. She was terrified of the bush. Whereas at school, that's what we did. You grow up in New Zealand, all they do is they show you the native trees and you're watching birds and everything like this. And I think it was so oxymoronic to see the fear of one thing that another person is in awe of, another person is in admiration of. They thank God for the water and for the sky, and they call it beautiful, and someone else is quaking, you know? And so for you, what have you seen either as your role now as a general manager, or when you were working under Red Cross, or your own experience that people are genuinely struggling and finding difficult to walk through outside of everyday life? What are people going through?
We take things as granted, you know. Just for us, maybe it's simple to go to the library to borrow the book and come home. It's easy for us to go to shop. It's easy for us to go and visit a doctor, you know, your GP. And so it seems very simple for us, as if we're born together with. But in reality, it's not, you know, just for somebody who came a different system, you know, a different practice.
Yeah.
And so, and as for me, when I came to New Zealand in 1998, well, I was in Mangere. Just when I came out, they gave me just a plastic card. It has got a nice W in red, you know, that is Westpac. So the wall is giving you money. That's literally, you know, put that card in the wall. There is a small metallic, you know, just space, you know, slot, put your 4-digit number. It gives you money. It's a miracle money, it seems, you know, because we never had, you know, just that one.
Yeah.
We need somebody to show us, is it?
Yeah.
So, and people comes here, you know, just even to go and just walking in a park, you know, just when nobody's around, you are the only one. Why can't you feel? Because you came from a very crowded areas, you know. So for me, the houses, you know, just I live by the main roadside, you know, just there's no fence, and we just go to, you know, just even a slide, a French door. And the big question is how safe I am in this house. Because in my countries, all the house has got a fence. Even if you have a window, a glass window, you have got a metal bar for a protection.
Wow.
See? Yeah, so here, it's on the roadside is a glass, you know.
There's the footpath.
Exactly. It's like a pattern. If I wake up now in the middle of the night before I go to a toilet, and I check my kids as they are in the room. I check through the curtain, you know, it became in some things which was not familiar. So, yep, and it's not some things, you know, just we can call easy until you come up across that, you know, it's not easy.
Of course.
It's new. So for those refugees who came to these countries, they need all the supports, you know, and just simple things, you know, just to take them to their library, to get a library card and to show them, you know, and GP enrollment and school, you know, just to enroll the schools, and the parents, they need English classes.
Yeah.
All those we take as granted, you know, but that's some things, you know, yeah.
I think the interesting thing about that is I did all of those things as well with my family, with my mom and my dad. But it felt like a fun game, you know, because I was so young. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to the library. Let's go, you know.
For you.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I love literature. I love writing. I still do, you know. And for me, it was, and I say of this not to negate what you said, but to introduce the idea of the age and the factor that age plays into it. Because when you are of the age to notice the looks and the stares and feel the anxiety, feel the nausea, feel the rush, you know, of adrenaline sometimes as well, I think it's completely different. Whereas for me, when I was 8, 9, 10, 5, it was like a whole new world. And that was exhilarating. You know, it was amazing. I felt like a big playground for me. To go to McDonald's and there's a playground in the backyard was incredible. So much so that I never actually understood that my mom had this kind of like, oh my gosh, I have to speak and they're going to know that my accent is weird and they're going to make fun of me, but I just want to get chicken nuggets for Audrey because she had school, you know? But I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Ronald McDonald. You know?
But as for me, I'm not taking that side like your mom. You know, if somebody wants to say, you know, just and say, oh, you don't pronounce my name properly, and I say to him, you don't pronounce my name also properly. So let's have a middle ground. I'm not expecting, here is the problems, you know, just, you know, I'm not here to assimilate. I'm not here to deny who I am. I'm not here to bury Dawit and then just to start like David or James and Simon. No. here am I and Dawit, and I learn from New Zealand, the good part of New Zealand. I learn the way, just how they deal matter. I will learn whatever, just what I can learn. And I will also maintain, part of me.
Who you are.
Who am I? Or a part of my practices also, and so assimilation is totally just, that's what sometimes, people are expecting. I had a blame, just, oh, look, those bloody refugees, they get our passport, they move to Australia. And I said, what's the number? How many refugees they went to Australia? But when we came to New Zealand, we've been told to learn from the Kiwis. And we have seen 100,000 Kiwis, they went to Australia. So our refugees, they followed them because they've been told to learn, is it? So how do you return back to blame them, So when you do is right, when I do is wrong, that's not fair, So assimilation, I wouldn't accept. I'll keep my culture, I'll keep my religion, and then I will keep the way how I deal with matters. I'll keep my accent. I don't want to change even my accent for the sake of, just imitating.
So it's more about integration.
Exactly, integration. Okay. You see, that's the right word, integration. I have a great respect for this land because they welcomed me with open arms, One thing I want to tell you, I will never forget the Maori Kamatua, and then he said to me after a hongi, and he said to me, haremai, and then he said, what's haremai? And a long time ago, this big God, he brought us to this land, and the same God, he brought you today, son, haremai, welcome. I will never forget this word. It will remain with me until I go to Waikomoto Cemetery or back home. Haremai, you will never, welcome. I don't know where you can get this word. Welcome means, as who you are, welcome to me, welcome here, You see, that's what I like it, just it's an assimilation or integration. So, and then, always I encourage, just the refugees here, you said, oh, Mr. Dawit, I don't speak good English. I said, oh, you speak better, you speak Arabic, you speak Kurdish, you speak Persian, you speak French, and so now you are learning who's better. You speak better English than our Prime Minister who can't speak Chinese or Indian, is it? So it's not about, it doesn't show our, intellect there,
Right.
So we don't have to be intimidated, just all what you do is good to learn what we have to learn without burying ours. So actually New Zealand enjoyed. One old Kiwi man, he said to me, we've been sick and tired of greasy pie. Now because of this, different people comes. Now we have got different foods on the street, he said to me. He's an old Kiwi guy, you see. So it's a contribution.
Of course.
You bring some things to contribute.
Yeah.
And so yesterday I was talking somewhere, and then I said to them, I'm lucky to have New Zealand, and also New Zealand is lucky to have me. Yeah, because I have something to contribute to New Zealand also.
Of course. And I think that can be so much fun if we let it be. If we let it be enjoyable to learn about the plethora of people, not just Ethiopians and Kiwis, it's Ethiopians and Middle Easterns and Solomon Islanders and all of these different things. Because I think for me, now that I'm at the age where I can recognize the gravity of what it took to come to New Zealand, but also what it takes to grow up, because I think sometimes we overlook, I think sometimes people go, okay, you were born in New Zealand, so yes, you're from somewhere else, but you were born here, so you're one of us. But we don't really talk about the two worlds, because when I'm with you and I'm doing what you do, But when I go back home, as in my house and my family and other people from Burundi, it's a different world. And it's like, I'm so lucky, yes, that I grew up here, but there's still a dichotomy that I'm coming in contact with. And I'll never forget when I got invited to a birthday party and it said, bring a plate. And me and my mom, we went to Briscoe's and we literally bought a beautiful glass plate and we took it. But when we took it and they unwrapped it and they opened it, they laughed and they said, why did you give us this? And I said, on the invitation it said bring a plate. And they go, no, that means you bring a shared plate. You bring sausage rolls or something on it. something as simple as that humiliated me. I was like, I'm not coming to a birthday party, because there's these things that operate on a subtle level, you know. Like for us, you take the shoes off at the house. For them, you don't, you know. And there's so many different things. And so, for you and your position and what you've known and what you've seen, what would you say is the best solutions to go about these either problems happening on a micro level and problems happening on a macro level?
Well, and the first things is an open heart, you know, just, and then willingness to listen, to understand.
To learn.
And first of all, I really appreciate, you know, this kind of platforms you created, you know, because, and then here it is, if anybody speaks against refugee, you know, just speak in different forms, even offensive words comes out, I won't take, you know, just as a negative. I don't take any reaction. And then the first thing is I'm thinking that man doesn't know what's refugee.
Yeah.
So it's my responsibility to let him to understand. So when I was driving a taxi, every day you get over 15 passengers a day, you know. Most of them, they have come without even any single knowledge about refugees. Sometimes, you know, they think that I'm here for a better life, you know. And always I explain to them, it's my responsibility because that's my kopapa, you know. So I will tell them, I said, why I became refugee and how I came to New Zealand, what it means to be refugee, and I'll explain to them. Some of them, they have an open mind, willing to learn. When at the end of the journey, they said, driver, thank you for letting us know. You know, I'm sorry for the word I said. I said, that's fine. You know, my job is to let you know, because if a blind person break my glass, you know, I'm not going to be angry because he can't see my glass sitting on the floor, is it? Yeah. But after I told you, if you remain in the same position, I will tell you, just you have a problems with, you know, just, yep. So it's our responsibility. So this kind of platforms that helps us, you know, just, New Zealand is very young countries, you know, just for accommodating refugees. I know they started from 1944, the Polish refugees, but it's still, you know, just still very young, I can say, no. So, and also the numbers is very tiny, the refugees, you know, just 1,500 a year and 300 asylum seekers. It's not a big number. So the majority of people doesn't know, but it's our responsibility to let them to be aware. And also the other, you know, just a solution is from a decision-making positions, you know, just to make, you know, just a flexibility, a willing, you know, just willing to adjust, you know, just willing to listen and try to. And at least, you know, just whatever they can, you know, just to do, you know. And so, and a willingness of, you know, just shifting, you know, some policies. And so that helps. And the other things also, I want to emphasize this one, is as you mentioned before, and a refugee comes here and later they walk away, you know, from that journey, and now they are living in other areas they've totally forgot about. But there must be some responsibilities upon us, you know, just to come back to support. Like organization is SST, ARCC, belong out there. There are many organizations, you know, they need just our just knowledge. They need our experience. We have to be there to support. Sometimes, you know, just I'm ashamed of my peoples, you know, when I see, you know, just, and the volunteers are all Kiwis. Where are the refugee volunteers to participate in this journey? So we have also our responsibilities to participate. I know there is a pressure on us because we are a beginner. We don't have left, you know, just we are fighting for our bread, you know. We can say that one. But still there is a way, you know, just if there is a will, there is a way. So for a change from the government level, from a society level, and from the media, just willing to listen to us rather than to write based on their narrative, you know. It's good to come just like this and then open discussion without pasting and cut and paste, you know, just to, without filtering, to pass our voices also. That helps a lot. Yeah. And also if you have a spare coins, you know, our 1 week coffee money, maybe 1 day coffee money is also to give to the charity organization, which is good. That's how, you know, just Salvation Armies is surviving, you know, to help the communities. So I believe that it's not one way to fix or one body to fix. And all of us, we have to be in that journey. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
I've really enjoyed this episode.
My
It was
pleasure.
a lot of fun, a lot of knowledge, a lot of eye-opening.
Thank you.
It has been incredible to be able to sit down with you and to hear, once again, another perspective, another way of life. I think that's one part of this job that I can never really have enough gratitude for God when He gave it to me, because I think it came at a time where I think it's part of adolescence. You kind of live very egocentrically. You know, when you're a teenager, it's all about who you like, what you're going to do. It's me, 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 me. And then I turned 20 and it was like, oh my gosh, I have dropped out of school. I've dropped out of university. What am I going to do? Who do I want to be? Whereabouts do I want to go? And I think slowly the Lord has been showing me, Audrey, this is where you came from, you know, and this is what the people are like where you came from, you know, and I think it's been so much fun. So thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for listening. It has been amazing once again to bring you another incredible man who was doing incredible things. This has been Reset TV Talk. I've been Audrey. This has been
Dawit Arshak.
Be blessed. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.